since morning I've not seen my children. Oh, this my children have been with my house help. So hell, what kind of mother am I? Hello, you're welcome to today's episode of Chilling with the Doctors, and I'm your host, Dr. Ezine Eriri. How are you doing? So today I'm going to be bringing you another exciting episode. I'm going to be talking about something that is an issue that more women need to talk about. So this channel, our major aim is to help you improve your physical and your emotional health. Today we're going to be focusing on emotional health for mothers. Now, having seen the title, we're going to be talking about something that many women struggle with. Unfortunately, we don't talk about it a lot in the society because, like I discussed in my last video, we're supposed to be doing all these things and make it look easy. If you complain, it's like you're the weak one, you're not strong enough to survive in today's society. So I want to break down, talk about these things and see how we can move on. So we're going to be talking about overcoming mom's guilt. And this is more common amongst working women because the traditional African woman is supposed to be at home looking after her kids. While there's nothing wrong with taking that choice, some people like me are quite restless. We can't sit down in one place. We want to just go out and work. We feel like when we work, we're contributing our own quota to society. So now, if you're there, you have children, you have a busy career, how do you not feel guilty? Because it's like in the office, you're not meeting up, at home, you're not meeting up. So we're going to be having this conversation today. Now, I'm not a parent coach, I'm not a mom coach. So most of what I'm going to be sharing with us here are largely anecdotal, but I believe that you may pick up one or two tips with which you can all formulate your own philosophy. So what's made me pay attention to this topic? I grew up with a working mom. My mom was a teacher, and for most years while I was a young girl, we hardly had house helps. So my mother had to go to work, come back in the afternoons, do the laundry, do the dishes, clean up the house, and many times she finished these chores late into the night. I remember those days, the drama on TV then was Checkmate in Nigeria where I grew up, and this woman will come in to sit down to watch her favorite show, and before we go 5 minutes, before Shego, what's his name? Before RMD does that, if you watch those series, you know what I'm saying, she would have slept off. Even when we are trying to stay her interest, that mommy, come and watch, this is interesting, come and play with me, come and help me do my homework. Before we say drag, this woman has slept off, because the truth is that you can't cheat nature. You can't do something mentally taxing in your workplace or physical task in your workplace and come back home and do the physically taxing work of raising children, of keeping your home clean, and still have it all together. Okay, so you see, when I told myself as a young girl then that when I grow up and become a mom, I'm not going to be like my mom. I'm going to have it all together. I'm going to be able to do my housework and still be a fantastic mom. And by the time I had my first child, my mother had 5 children. By the time I had my first child, I had to, if you can watch the first episode of this, I had to edit my choices and become a little bit more realistic. So now I've been a mom for about almost 12 years now, and these are a few things that have helped me soothe my mom guilt. Because the truth is that even after I accepted that, okay, I needed help and all that, I was strangled with a lot of mom guilt. I felt like I was never giving my children my best. I always had this nagging feeling that I wasn't giving my children my best, that I could have been a better mom for them. And then later, when this whole talk of self-care became popular on social media, in women societies, when women gather and talk together, they were talking about self-care. And then I still struggle a lot with my weight, that's the truth. I told myself, okay, let me do something that will help me shed weight and boost my mental and emotional health. So I signed up with a gym, and I couldn't do it because at the time I signed up with the gym, I had a 1-year-old whom was in total gum body, and he was such an adorable child that whenever I'm going to the gym, I'll take him along. And you can imagine that at the end of the day, the only exercise I'll do would be to be chasing him around the corner. I couldn't. So after less than 2 months, I had to stop that because I realized it wasn't going to help. So I told myself, okay, let me boost my social health. Let me hang out more with colleagues, with friends. And on this particular day, I hung up with a group of young ladies. I don't think any of them, one of them was a mom, I remember. And we, after work, we just decided that, okay, let's go and check out this new swanky restaurant that had opened around the corner. And we went there, and I got the food there was amazing. The setting itself had a way of stirring your appetite and making you feel relaxed. So we ordered fisherman soup. Have you eaten that soup before? And that was the tastiest I had it. But unfortunately, we were there till like 7 p.m. and at about 6:30 p.m., 7:30 p.m., I started feeling very uncomfortable. I was like, that since morning I've not seen my children. Oh, these my children have been with my house help. So hell, what kind of mother am I? That was my nagging thought. So as delicious, as full of obstructions as that soup was, this girl was not feeling it. I wasn't feeling the soup. I was like, I need to go home. I need to go and be with my children. I need to go and check their homework, check their school uniform, so that tomorrow they will not disgrace you, you know. So I wasn't enjoying anything that was happening, and that was the last time, that period, that I ever hung out again. So for many women, you understand what I'm trying to say. When you feel overloaded with guilt, you may be a busy bank executive, you may be a doctor that has to do call duty, so obviously you're going to leave your children with somebody else. And this is even worse if your husband is not around. So it means that in the morning your children are going to wake up to a nanny or to a distant relative and all that, and these things can squeeze you with so much guilt. And like I said earlier, these are not things that you can come out in public to talk about. People may not understand. Your senior colleagues you want to talk with may have finished having their children years ago, and their own circumstances were different from yours, or maybe they may not even be married, or they may not yet have kids. So many times you just keep all those emotions inside there, and these are the emotions that many times drive our overeating. You get. Recently I was discussing with some male colleagues, and I realized that even men feel that way. But you see, a father can be away for 4 weeks, for 4 months, and is considered okay. He's the head of the home, he's the provider, so he's supposed to be away. So society supports him. But for we women, society doesn't really support us to be away for that long. You're the same person that is telling you that you need to go on this course, you need to go and do a master's. Is that same man with the same other mouths that will come and say, could you have left your children? You know, so every day your emotions are just dragged here and dragged there. The day you get an accolade at work, you may come home and there's no accolade for you at home. The day you're traveling, you may be on night duty, and that night your child may be running temperature, and you are there at work while your own child is sick. As a doctor, this is even more traumatic, because it's like you're treating other people's children, meanwhile your own child is not doing well. You're a teacher, you're teaching other people's children, meanwhile your own child is not doing well, and you're not at home to be able to coach that child. So these are the struggles we women face. So I'm going to be sharing with us 5 things that have helped me over the years to soothe that guilt feeling. If you're a Christian, I label those feelings as accuser of the brethren, because you know you're responsible enough, you know the right thing you should be doing, but it's like you're not getting that affirmation that you're on the right track. And this is even important if your love language is words of affirmation. As a working mom, you would hardly get those affirmations, which means that at the end of the day, for you to remain sane, you need to be the one giving yourself these words of affirmation. So I'm going to be sharing with us things that have helped me see things a little differently and cope better. Now, before I go on, if you've not subscribed to this channel, kindly do subscribe. You can look through our videos. If you find any video that you want to share with women around you, with people around you, kindly do share. Let us help and support one another to be healthier physically and emotionally. So what's my first tip? First of all, the first thing I recognized early was the fact that the umbilical cord between my child and myself had been cut. So there was no biological connection, if you understand what I mean. This child didn't need me 24/7, or like when the child is in the uterus, without the mother for those complete 9 months, you realize that if the child comes earlier, the preterms, they struggle, because it's a must, you must have your mother's sustenance at those intra-womb time. Now, when the child is out, the child can actually survive without you. They've cut the umbilical cord. This helped me understand and put in perspective that I am no longer that important. Now, it is a very humbling thing to accept that biologically you are no longer that important. This is even more important after you have stopped breastfeeding. Somebody else can feed your child, somebody else can clean your child, somebody else can do many other things for the child. Understanding this helped to reduce my mom guilt by, let me say, 20%. And this even became more so. There was a time I had to travel a lot, so I had just one child then too, so I had to send him to stay with my mom. And there was this weekend I was less busy. I said, okay, let me go and see him. That Sunday morning, we had dressed him up for church. I was ready to go back home, and he was following my mom to church. And this boy started throwing the tantrums of his life. He started crying. He threw himself to the ground. He was crying like he was going to die if I don't stay with him. You know, those kind of tears that can draw at your heart, you know. And then I had the mother of all the headaches after then. I felt so guilty. My heart was squeezed. As in, literally, when I went home and I had to check in to the hospital just to check up myself because I was just not feeling it. The headache was something else. I went and checked my blood pressure, and me that lives with blood pressure of 160, that day my blood pressure was 150/90. I had to try to relax, try to soothe myself that day because I felt down. And by evening, towards when I called him to say good night, I was like, how are you doing now? And this young man was like, I asked him, are you still crying? He said, mommy, I've stopped crying. No, that time you were crying, that time you were going, I was just doing nya. But as you left, I cleaned my eyes and I stopped crying. Those were his exact words. He was just 3 years then. That was when I realized that these children, their only way of communicating that they are going to miss you is by crying and throwing tantrums. Because their vocabulary is not yet developed. It's the way some women nag because they don't have the right words to express their dissatisfaction or their disappointment with their partner. So the best way they do it is to nag. It's the same thing with kids. They don't know how to say, Mom, I'm going to miss you, bye, do have a great time, do have a safe journey. No, they don't know how to express those feelings, so they just cry. And that day it dawned on me that, look, I have not been with this boy for weeks. We have been communicating anyway through the phone. I've been trying to keep up with his progress. But even if I wasn't physically present, he was going to do just fine. This may be difficult for you to understand if you're the type of person that likes to feel needed, if you get a lot of ego stroking from feeling very important. So this is going to be a little bit difficult for you to digest. But the truth is that your children can survive without you. So a lot of the things you do for them, you can actually delegate it to somebody else. I always tell people that stress management and mom guilt is a very severe form of stress, comes from making tough decisions. So you have to sit down with yourself and accept that, look, in the morning it may be difficult for me to do school runs, somebody else can do it. It may be difficult for me to pick these kids from school, somebody else can do it. There are a whole lot of other things that you can do for your children that somebody else can do. You just need to understand that these kids can survive without you. But the second thing that helped me with my mom guilt was improving my communication with the children. And this was something I learned from the Holy Spirit. I'm a Christian. So there was this day I was trying to discipline my child, and I had begun to understand that I wasn't supposed to just be using flogging and caning, the traditional African pattern, that I needed to learn to communicate better, to get across to them. And this particular day, I had God's Spirit in my heart tell me that anytime I want to tell him something important, I should squat down to his level, look at him eyeball to eyeball, reduce the speed of my speech, reduce the volume of my voice, and intentionally tell him the words slowly. And this was an inspiration I got from God on how to communicate better with my children. So anytime, and normally I talk fast, so I had to intentionally tell myself to start talking slowly when I want to explain to them why I don't want them to do this or why I want them to do that. And implementing that, anytime I notice that I'm beginning to yell more, I remember what that I achieved a lot more ground communicating better with them than trying to yell at them or feeling disappointed in myself that I wasn't doing my job right. Now, what are some of the things you need to tell your children? Inform them on how your week will be. This will help to lower their expectations. So if you need to do some traveling, if you're going to be coming late, if you're not going to be able to meet up with their school activities, if you're not going to be able to make breakfast for them, do tell them. They are human beings, they would understand. Don't try to be the parent that thinks that because I'm an adult and they are children, that means I'm supposed to be perfect, that they wouldn't understand. It's not true. So you can tell them that, look, next week mommy is going to travel, and this night I'm going to want to sleep longer. I'm not going to be able to wake up early in the morning to make food for you. I'm going to be on call this night, so I'm not going to be around. We tend to want to sneak out of the house. We tend to want to lie to them that I'm going to go and buy something for you when we are going out of the house. What you are inadvertently teaching them is how to lie. You're inadvertently teaching them how not to express themselves, how not to be bold to say the truth. That is the message you're communicating across to them, and I'm sure that's not your intention. So the right thing is to tell them that, look, in that slow tone, you hold them. Mommy is not going to be around tomorrow. I'm on call. And mommy is not going to be around for the next 2 weeks. I have to travel abroad for a course. Talk to them slowly. This will also help you to assuage your conscience so that at least these children know where I am. And it's important to always let them know why you are not around, why you are not doing the things that they see their mates' moms do. You have to tell them. In fact, recently my children started disturbing me that they wanted another child, especially my youngest child. He came and started throwing a lot of tantrums, and he wants me to have another child, that all his classmates have junior brothers and junior sisters. I should give my... And he was very serious about it. He created space on the dining table for his new sister, created space on his bed for his new sister. I'm still even disturbing their dad that they want me to get pregnant. Anytime I overeat and my tummy bulges out, they'll be so happy that, hey, mom is pregnant. So I had to explain to them why I couldn't have another child for now. Okay, so explain these things to them, talk to them, they would understand, and it will also help them to grow up faster. Also, let them know why you are doing what you're doing. Why are you working? I have a feeling that many adults today are struggling with adulting because their parents shielded them unknowingly from the reality of being an adult. Being an adult is not beans. Being an adult means you have to pay your bills. As a little child, you can cry and then they'll give you extra food. As an adult, if you want extra food, you have to work extra or maybe smarter for you. You have to take stronger decisions to be able to earn more. So you have to let them know that the reason why when you go to the mall and you go to all the other fun places they want to go to, you're able to give them your ATM and money comes out, it's because you've put money inside that ATM. That time you went out in the morning to work, that time you missed their school activity, it was because you were working so that you can be able to take care of them. The uniform that they are wearing, the school that they are going to, you had to work. Because even if you work from home, it means that from time to time you need to close your door and say, look, I don't want you to disturb me now. You need to, no matter how it is, even if you're a full-time housewife, you're not going to always be there for these children. There are times you want to hang out with your friends. So you let them know that, you played with your friend the other day. Mommy too wants to go and play. It's natural for me. So communicating with them helps them to understand what life is talking about, and you're equipping them to be able to understand the realities of living this side of heaven. So what's the number 3 thing? The number 3 thing I've had to do to help me feel better is to teach my children early to be independent. So I have all sons, I don't have any daughter, but I don't do the traditional thing of because you're a boy, somebody else has to take away your plate, somebody else has to dress your bed, somebody has to do your dishes or do your laundry. As age appropriate as I can, I try to help them to start doing things. What does this do for me? It means that when I come back from work, I'm not the one going to go and lay their beds. I taught my children how to lay, well, not me, let me be honest, my husband, he taught them how to lay their beds from when they were 3 years old, 4 years, 5 years, they are laying their beds well. From the time you start feeding yourself, even before then, you're going to be able to take your plate to the kitchen, clean up where you've eaten, and as they grow older, I taught them to do their dishes. How is it helping me? It's helping me such that when I come back home, I don't need to shout so much. I don't need to be the one to start doing all those things that will take my time. and cut short the time I'm spending with them. Because let's face it, those times you're spending doing laundry, those times you're spending mopping the house, you're not spending that time with them. You're in the house, but you're not with them. You're not talking with them. You are not knowing the challenges that they're having in school at that point in time, because you are busy. And if you are busy after a long day at work, you are also cranky. Chances are, when they come to talk to you, you're going to just be snappy and cranky and not even have any conversation with them. So by teaching them to become independent early, it means that when you come back home, like there are some evenings when I come back home late, they've already fed themselves, they are sitting down, and 30 minutes, 1 hour, we're able to have a good conversation. I hope so far you are learning one or two things, and if you have your own tips that have helped you, please share in the comment section so that some other person reading would also get strengthened. So now the number 4 thing that has helped me reduce my mom guilt is being intentional about the quality time I have with them. So now everybody says it's not about the quantity of time you spend with your kids, it's about the quality of time. Now that quality, what do you spend doing? Yes, you may want to take them out, you may want to go shopping with them, but you also want to spend time passing on your values to them. So if you're a person of faith, you want to use that time to teach them your faith. If you're somebody that cherishes hard work, you want to look at their homework and all that. So it means that every day you have to be intentional that, okay, for today we are going to go through this Bible verse, or tomorrow we are going to study this book and learn a moral lesson from it. Next tomorrow we are going to do this, we are going to do that. And you're going to teach your children about emotional intelligence, about mental stamina, about integrity. You know, those soft skills that are so important in today's world. They may not pick them in school. Your school fees alone, no matter how much you're paying, may not, some schools are trying, I must say, but they may not teach your children those things. So those are the opportunities you have because of your experience also in the world, because you're busy going into the world. You know what life is talking about. Those are the times you can now come back and spend inculcating these things in your children. Am I making sense? I think I am anyway. Thank you very much for watching thus far. So the number 5 thing is telling them that you love them. So even after you've disciplined them, even after you've not been at home, don't try to use presents to replace your presence. So don't try to assuage your guilt by buying them gifts up and down. A hug. You know, I practiced this thing with my last child. Anytime he hurt himself, you know how when children are babies, they fall down, they are crying, you just stick your breast into their mouth. I told myself not to do that. What I was trying to do was I'm trying to tell him that whenever you're in pain, use food to soothe that pain, which is one of the things that many of us are struggling with even as adults, as we've grown older. We use food to make ourselves happy. So anytime he hurt himself, I'll tell him sorry. Anytime he was feeling lonely, feeling cranky, I will hold him, I will love him. Your children need to know that you love them. You can put them in a big school, buy them a big house, get them a chauffeur-driven 4-wheel drive, but that may not translate to love for them. So you may also want to understand your child's love language and express love accordingly. But never forget, I know our parents didn't train us. If you grew up in Africa, you didn't grow up hearing your parents saying, I love you, I love you. But let your children start hearing those things from the home. It's important for your female children so that they don't go run away with the first boy that says, I love you. It's also important for your male children because it helps them to feel safe and secure with them. After disciplining them, remind them that the reason why you did it is not just because you are angry, it's because you love them. I hope with these 5 tips of mine, you may be able to formulate your own things, convictions, so that you don't allow the devil to keep accusing you that you are not a good mom. I think you are a good mom if you have watched this far. God bless you for watching. See you next time in our other episodes. Bye.